Alrighty, so I'm just going to run a few things out and answer these questions in your head. If you say yes to any of these things, then I have a cure for you. Have you ever had trouble sleeping? Ever had trouble getting up? Ever had trouble with cramps or stomach issues? Or maybe you just have like horrible anxiety and can't relax. Your cure is actually tea. But what is tea? Tea is pretty simple. All tea comes from the same plant. However, there's a common misconception. There's only certain teas that actually come from the tea plant. Not all of the things that you consider tea are tea. Tea is mostly found in Asia. It grows wild, and it is definitely best grown on elevated slopes because of the altitude and the temperature. 2,000 tiny tea leaves need to be harvested in order to make 1 pound of tea. The way that the tea leaf is processed is what determines what type of classification the tea actually is. So the different kinds of tea. Ooh. Can I change the format of this real fast? I guess not.
No, just work through it.
Okay.
We get it.
Different kinds of teas. There's black teas, green teas, oolong teas, scented teas, herbal teas, fruit teas. The only ones of these that are actually considered teas are the black teas, the white teas, the green teas, the oolong teas, and the pura teas. Those are the only ones that are actually made out of the tea leaves. The rest of them are really considered infusions because the tea leaves aren't actually involved. Like your herbal teas, you'll be using like rosemary and lavender, or commonly chamomile. Those aren't actually considered teas. So, what you need to know how to do is how to brew the perfect cup of tea. Believe it or not, because there's so many different kinds of teas, there are so many different ways to brew tea. So what you need to keep in mind is QT. Quality, quantity, temperature, and time. Going into it, the quality of water is the biggest thing. You don't want chlorinated water. If your water tastes funny, your tea is going to taste funny. If your water's too hard, it's going to be too abrasive on your tea leaves, and it's actually going to give you a really, really harsh brew. Also, it's best to go from cold water to hot water rather than from hot to hot, because if you put it in, then it just changes the properties and you're not going to get the right tea. Quantity. Tea is because you only want a teaspoon of your tea per cup. Pretty simple. When it comes to your quantity of tea, the best way to do it is with loose leaf tea, not your bag tea. Believe it or not, I mean, it's very easy to put your bag in the water, but if you use loose leaf tea, the water actually can get around the tea leaves and get into the essential oils that actually make tea and give you that great flavor. And if the tea can't move with the water, then you're not going to get all the properties that you need. Also, covered in the bag, not all the oils are going to come out into your tea, so you're not going to get everything you need. Temperature. The only teas that actually need to be steeped in boiling water are black teas, oolong teas, and some really dark herbal teas. If you do anything like green tea or white tea or even yellow teas in boiling water, the tea leaves are so delicate that you're going to burn the tea, and you're actually going to get a really harsh tasting tea, and it's kind of disgusting. I was actually going to bring a whole bunch of tea in for you guys, but 20 cups of tea is a lot of tea. Time. Depending on your type of tea, as well, is what determines the time you steep it. The more hardy the tea, the longer you have to steep it for. So black teas are around 5 minutes, white teas are around 3 minutes. If you go someplace like Tea Havana, which is pretty cool, but it's not the best tea place, they'll actually put on your little bag or container what tea you have just purchased, the temperature that you need to have your water at, and the time you need to steep it in. Any really good tea will have it on the container that you buy it. So, going back to all of your issues, I just want to let you know that tea is actually really, really good for you. It's not going to make you crazy, all right? Just to let you know, that's a really common misconception. And it's actually easier for you to adapt your body to tea than it is to coffee. Coffee you're going to get really addicted to it. You're going to get jitters. You're going to get shakes. If you don't want to have caffeinated tea, you don't need caffeinated tea. Decaf coffee actually has caffeine in it. Decaffeinated tea, there's no caffeine in it, so you're not going to get as addicted to it. There's also antioxidants in tea. Antioxidants fight free radicals. It's cancer preventing. Chamomile, as I said, is your relaxer. There's L-theanine in chamomile. Chamomile tea is the only natural L-theanine producing plant that you can get to be a relaxer. So every other type of L-theanine that you find is artificial. You can only get that in chamomile tea. Also, it can help you lose weight. It increases your metabolism depending on what type of tea you have. So if you have tea before you work out and after you work out, it's actually really good for you. The other thing is polyphenols, which are in your tea, are tannins and flavonoids. And these things help not just with the flavor of your tea, but they're kind of like a bacterial fighting thing for you. So if you wanted to like cleanse your system out, tea is really good for you. Overall, tea is pretty awesome. I want you to remember that if you're trying to brew a really good cup of tea in order to enjoy it, remember QT, quality, quantity, temperature, and time. And just make sure that you find the right place to sit down and enjoy your tea, whether it's on the go because you have to get going or you're sitting down and relaxing with your chamomile tea. Just enjoy your cup of tea. And that's it.
Thank you very much.